So welcome everyone. My name is Ximena. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Nala. And today with my co-founder Mafe, our Chief Product Officer, leading the development and everything that's new on our software, we're going to be doing this third session of our Run Smarter Talent Cycles with Nala series. Just a brief, just what to expect in today's session. We're going to have a quick recap of what we talked in session 1 and 2, and then we're gonna go and take a deep dive into succession planning, talent risk, and regrettable turnover, and how you can manage, monitor, and just make sure your strategy is being effective with our software. And then, of course, as always, we're gonna give some advice, some tips, some guidance. The idea is this is a conversation, so feel free to just drop off questions or comments in the chat, and we will do a live demo specifically on succession planning and how to manage it with Nala. So let's start with a quick recap. And for those of you that weren't here, so session 1 and 2 were the first and second step of what we call in Nala the full talent cycle, which starts with finding a way of just creating that 9-box grid of talent in your company. So we basically talk about how to create the 9-box, how to run a successful and agile calibration process with your managers. Then last session was on the second piece of the talent cycle. So you have the top talent identified. Now it's all about understanding within your organization, where are those critical roles, who is leading the role right now, and especially who are the successors in place. And today, we're gonna see the third part, which is basically, okay, how do we design and manage succession planning at scale? And we're gonna talk also about a new concept around talent risk and regrettable attrition. So session 1, we went to the system, and as you guys know, within Nala, you can create from scratch a 9-box grid, or you can just run different assessments from our system, and that's gonna give you like the first view. We also checked how within Nala you can run calibration sessions at scale globally. So everyone gets to go in, just make adjustments, and update that talent readiness table, updating risk of loss, impact of loss, successors, and potential development routes. The second session was more on critical roles. So if we already know where and who are the top talent, now let's see our structure and let's identify those critical roles that have either a strategic importance, maybe a high replacement difficulty, and they have like this essential role in the value chain. So a lot of what we talked on session 2 was what are some criteria that you can use as you're trying to identify critical roles at scale beyond maybe level 1 and 2, and also what are some criteria that you can use to match those critical roles with potential successors. We shared how Nala can support you in that. We shared a bit about our smart models to do that at scale, and this was session 2. And I would say one of the main takeaways from session 2 is just encouraging everyone just to, when planning, do it role-based, not person-based. First, start with the structure, the critical roles, and then understand who are the people using those positions and who are the people that you're getting ready. Session 3, like I mentioned in the beginning, we're gonna talk more about not the initial draft of the people in the position and the potential successors, but actually how to design a succession plan and how to manage the succession strategy so that it's effective. And after going to the demo, we're going to talk a bit about talent risk and what are other things that you guys should be seeing within your company just to make sure that talent risk, it's at the minimum level. So let's go now to session 3. And when we're talking about succession planning, we're going to talk about 2 stages, I would say, the design piece and the governance piece. So the governance would be more like when we're starting to execute. So the design layer, the first thing that I want to reflect on, it's on how hard it is to actually design a succession plan. So when we're thinking about managers and leaders within our companies, just remember that this is beyond many things they're doing. This is another thing they need to do. And this is similar to when we ask managers to give constructive or negative feedback. There's all kinds of like frictions that just from mentioning they arise. So when we're thinking about managers doing their succession planning within their team, it's hard for them to do, and this is an opportunity for HR. This is a time where we can just go and work it with them. And part of what we're going to talk here, it's what are some things that you could use as you work with your managers, making sure you have those agreements and succession planning in place. And the other thing, it has to do with how you focus your energy and resources. You cannot do a succession plan for every single person in the company, but what are some things that you can do in order to focus your attention? And then on the execution piece, we're gonna talk a little bit about some KPIs and what are those KPIs, numbers that you should at least have within your maybe roadmap. Some KPIs are going to help you just monitor and make sure that what you guys are doing is having an impact. And then we're going to maybe talk a bit more about the skill development for ready now talent. So when we're talking about succession planning, there's a process component, there's a framework component, and then there's the actually making that skills gap narrow down. And that's extremely important for the teams that we're leading. So I'm going to share with you 5 tips. And before I move forward, Mafe or Cami, could you guys tell me if there's maybe a comment or a question, something specifically before I move forward?
Hi, Jimmy. I was having trouble in hearing you, but everything is said here, but I can't see the chat. I'm going to okay. Here.
No, I think we don't have any questions or comments so far, so we're fine.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start with tip number 1. And we're going to talk about the design phase. So think about that moment. So the first tip that we have, it's how important it is to use technology so that we can have like a pre-diagnostic focus. What do I mean by this? A lot of you work in large companies with complex organizational structures. So you cannot go and try to design succession plans for everything, for everyone, and for every role in the company. So it's important that you have a software or a system or a mechanism that's going to help you just surface like the red zones before you start like the actual exercise of writing those plans and allocating resources to them. So give me 1 second, let me close the door. So that would be tip number 1. So whatever it is, create your own framework, or maybe look for softwares like Nala, not necessarily just Nala, that will help you just get that visibility. Some examples of guiding principles would be, okay, let's start with how many critical roles do we have with succession plans? So let's start with the people that are in those succession plans, or maybe potential successors that are already flagged for any reason. Maybe you have people that are they're in a critical role and they're going to be in a new critical role. Maybe soon they're going to be, maybe they're going to have a promotion. So maybe you start with those people first. Maybe you have critical roles without an ideal incumbent. So you know there's going to be a change. You need to make sure people are being prepared for it. Or maybe critical roles that don't have a successors at all. And maybe you already know that the person, even though they're great, there's a high attrition risk. These are just some examples. And again, today, it's important to think about these numbers or ideas, because it's going to help you narrow down before starting to write the plans. Number 2, having a framework for the succession strategy. So think of the competency model. Think of up-to-date job descriptions. We know this is a big thing because a lot of our clients, they started doing that. The job descriptions are everywhere. So we know it's a challenge, but when thinking about a succession strategy, it's important to have that framework. And trust me, if we make it a priority to have a competency model or up-to-date job description, maybe not for everything, but at least for the critical positions where we're going to be looking for successors, it's going to impact and it's going to make our work easier. And then that would be like on what we're looking to develop and where are those roles that are very critical. But then also you need to have a methodology in terms of how to look for potential candidates and This is not about understanding for what you need to prepare people, but how are you going to maybe identify people within your talent pool that are potential successors or potential leadership. And by having the framework, this is going to help you first identify those people, but then actually create a process that's going to help you. It's going to give you visibility of the gap analysis and things that you could do in order to minimize the gap. Tip number 3, and this is again on the design phase. We're talking a few minutes ago on how hard it is for a lot of managers, just the idea of writing a succession plan or an agreement. So over here, I just want to share with everyone 3 categories that you could at least include in this conversation. So the first one, maybe is the more obvious one. It's like a target role competencies, maybe leadership and some technical. So again, going back to the framework, if you have a job description or a competency model, maybe you're gonna, some of the action plans are gonna be around minimizing the skills gap. Then there's what a lot of companies call hard filters. And these are like corporate hard filters. So maybe for certain levels in this corporation, you need to have a specific degree, or for a different function, maybe a certification, maybe some years of experience, even managing some languages. And again, these are things that it's important to have it, to know them as you're building the succession plan. And also it's important for the person so that they will know if they need to do something, or maybe the company needs to invest, making sure they're more ready for that new role. And the last piece, it would be like business constraint. So if you maybe you're preparing John for the CEO role, and he's already working on his degree. He has already taken classes. He has the languages that you guys need, but maybe all of that doesn't matter if he's not available for a relocation because the CEO position is only available in, I don't know, Michigan. So these are 3 things that are conversation starters, but also think of them as buckets. So if you have like a succession plan, like template, maybe these are 3 areas that you could always, when you're having this conversation with managers, maybe they can help you not just understand what are the things, but also maybe give you other things that they think are important. Tip number 4. Now let's go to the execution piece, okay? It's important to have trackable development plans. So if you have the framework and you design a succession plan and you have an idea of the main areas that you guys are going to work on, eventually this needs to be something that it's trackable and you can monitor it. So some of the recommendations we do, and you can think this of like 4 things that you need to put in a development plan. Okay, what are the skills that you're going to be working on? What type of skills are this? What's the timeline? Accountability. Who are the people? Is there somebody that owns this development plan? Is it the employee, or this is something that somebody maybe from your team has to follow through? And is there any evidence or deliverable that you're expecting? And again, let's remember that a lot of the time, we spend a lot of time on the diagnostic, identifying the successors, doing the talent cycle or the succession discussions with managers. But at the end, what really has an impact on the company and on the results from our team is the actual management of everything that's talked there. So it's important to write these plans in a way that it's trackable and that you can follow through. And last but not least, it's important to have a system of a software that's going to help you track them and also have a very clear idea of where you're standing with the right succession KPIs. Over here, I'm sharing 5 KPIs. I don't want this to stress you, but these are just, I'll just go through them and just try to think when you're thinking about your company, if you have or not visibility of this. So bench strength ratio, it's okay. Ideally, you should have 2 to 3 ready now successors for a critical role. Go think of this. This is a game. You have people in the bench. The main player, it's injured. You have somebody that goes into the field right away. So that's one very important thing. So if you have your critical roles, okay, how many people do you have that are ready now successors? Future coverage, it's more around the future pipeline, development pipeline. And again, remember, this is a pipeline. So it's important to have future ready now successors, but it's also important, especially for critical roles, to have a future coverage. Another KPI would be percentage of internal promotions to critical roles. And again, a very good practice would be having the number over 70%. Number 4 would be career path ratio. And it's basically how you compare lateral movement versus like mobility, upward mobility. And of course, it varies on the culture. Again, these are just KPIs or concepts that I want you guys to reflect on. Maybe there's one or other that are more important, but all of this, for example, percentage of successors with active individual development plan. It's not just about understanding the concepts, it's also about having the right systems so that you can track these numbers consistently, so that you are investing and you're being effective in your goal, okay? And like what we talked in the beginning, it's important to know, okay, I'm going to start working with this group of people. Okay, if this is a success, where are we now and where we should be like in a year within the critical roles that we're going to pick. So now we're going to go to the platform. And Mafe, I just want to make sure before we jump into the system that everything's ready so that we can show people how this is done. And I think I forgot one of the tips. Tip number 5.
Oh, no.
Okay, it's the same. It's 4 and 4. I just forgot the number. Okay, sorry. So, Mafe, are you ready for that?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let me just right there. So, Mafe, I think
I can't share my screen.
Okay, Cami, it's just that she needs to give you the same thing happened to me before.
I'm trying. Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Now you're the presenter.
Yay, now I am. Okay,
Great.
So let me just share.
And Mafe, while you're getting ready, Eduardo just shared in the chat a super useful KPI in my experience is voluntary turnover. So we're going to talk about not just voluntary turnover, but regrettable attrition. So we have a special part of the presentation specifically for that, Eduardo.
Okay, here we are at NALA. So what I'm going to do is to do like a little recap of what Xime was showing to you. So as we were saying in the beginning of our webinars, the first part and the most important is to identify like these key people or like categorizing my talent in the company. So this is why we use the 9-box matrix, because it's very useful to do that. And as we show it like in the first session, it's very customizable for what like you want to design. Like if you want to customize the name of the boxes, the colors, what you're showing in each axis. Well, if you want your managers to calibrate, to do adjustments in the 9-box or just view them, you can like set all of that. And it's the place where you start having the conversations about, okay, I have here, I don't know, Alan, that is in this position, but I want to make an adjustment because he move around. So this is the place where you calibrate, but also it's the place where the conversations are going to start around successors and potential career moves. So what we start seeing in this conversation is that when you are talking about, I don't know, I have someone that is an emergent talent, she's like very outstanding, and I have a huge impact of loss if she leaves the company. Okay, what are the potential career moves for this person, or what are the successors that I'm going to suggest for this person specifically? And once you do this in Nara, once you said like the potential career moves, the successors and everything, the other thing that Nala is going to start like inviting the managers is to start setting like the succession plans. So every time that I say, okay, Mark is going to be a successor for this position, Nala is going to invite me to write a succession plan. And this is why in this third session, we wanted to talk about the importance of having this framework and all of the information ready for managers to know what to input here, because this is like the most challenging part of the process. And as a human resources professional, I've been always seeing like our ideal, our dream is that managers just know what to do and they do it, but they really need some guidance on how to set development plans because it's really hard. So the idea is here is, okay, I already, and something that we always are going to show here, because critical roles are very important for us, is like every time that I'm seeing my team, if I have this like little diamond here in Nala, it means that this is a critical position. So at least critical, but not everyone should have a successor or potential career moves, but at least the ones that have critical roles should. So the idea is that I know where to focus. And once I have like everything set here to say, okay, Bruno, his next move is going to be onboarding manager or sales director, the idea is to help managers to write those succession plans. So one of the things that we have here is like when I see the people that is getting ready for positions, Nala is always going to show like how the gap is closing every time they already check one of the boxes of, okay, I needed to do this or I needed to prepare in this skill. So the idea here is that if you are able to do your maybe your performance review or do a skills review about the position that the person is feeling right now. So for example, I know that Bruno is a sales controller and I know that he has a really good fit for the position he has right now. That is great. The idea is that you can compare it with the position that you want him to occupy in the future. So if I want him to be an onboarding manager, I'm going to have here all the skills that I need him to be ready for. And any time that I see that he needs to develop some of these skills, because I know, okay, he in customer focus, he already has everything, but in decision quality, okay, no. So if I want to go and create a succession plan, what I'm going to see here, let me just share the other screen. Now we are seeing the succession plan. So now that I'm here in the succession plan, what I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to be preparing him for the onboarding manager. The skill that I want to develop is decision quality. And one of the things that we are developing right now, and it's going to be in a really short term, is that we are going to set here an assistant that is going to help the manager to write the development plan. So if I say, okay, I want him to be ready for decision quality, what are some suggestions that Nala gives this manager on how to develop this person? It's super important that they said, as Ximena was saying, like, okay, until when I hope to see this already developed. I want to involve some other people. I don't know, I want maybe Lucy and Diana are very good in this and they can help this person with that. I can give some support links about where he can, I don't know, learn that. And all of these succession plans that I'm going to set for Bruno, I can choose if I'm going to hide them for him. So for example, if they have like this lock over here, it's because that is something that he cannot see, but I as a manager can see it, and I as a human resources administrator can see it, and I can, like, for example, that is an international experience, and if he already did it, I can go update, did it, and every time he completes one of these, that is where the gap is going to start like closing, where you see here that this is a development plan that is tied to a succession plan. This is something that I see because I'm Linda and I have like the administrator role, but when Bruno go into his profile, he's not going to see this. He's just going to see what he needs to do to develop himself in the company. I don't know, Jimmy, if you want me to show something else
Yes,
here.
no, I would, Mafe, so this all looks great, like if you already have the setup, but what about companies that are, they're maybe in the process of getting their competency model, they don't have job descriptions, like how much do they need if they want to start using the platform?
The first thing is that we always said like a skills dictionary. So we are always going to have like a a skills dictionary that is going to be already in the platform if you want to use it, and just start like assigning to some specific position. But you can also like create your own, and it's very easy to assign this to a specific like people. I can do it like by roles. I don't know, this is going to be for everyone that is a manager, or I can do it by position, no, for this specific position, or by business units. Everyone that is in the IT unit is going to have like this specific skill set that wants to develop. And once I assign all the people, Nala, what is going to do is that's going to say, okay, so Xime that has this specific position or this role has this skill, and then I can go and I can measure that skill when I'm doing like the performance evaluations. So I can come here and say, okay, I'm going to do this very fast, but I'm going to create a performance evaluation that is going to have a goals evaluation or not. I can start like setting all the rules here, and I can do the skills assessment, and the skills assessment is going to bring the specific skills that are assigned to each person in the company. And here I can do it if I wanted to do it 360 or just manager and assessment.
So what Mafe is showing, and just so that it's clear, so Nala as a software, it has different modules. One of our modules is performance management. So within performance management, you can do goal planning and mid-year review and an annual review. And thanks to this performance planning module we have, you can basically decide if maybe the mid-year review can be just an update on goals, how they're doing with goals, but maybe by the end of the year, you want to add to the goals the skills assessment. So we have made it flexible, so you can use it for succession planning. So you're gonna know what are the skills that maybe the skills from the current position, but also you can, like Mafe was showing before, maybe Mafe, you can show it again. Like when you're looking at an employee for your team, you can just select another position, and we're gonna see that. And like we were mentioning in the presentation, we know succession planning is not just about skills, but the skills development, it's where we need to be involved from HR. This is something that we're going to be the ones prioritizing resources, coordinating the initiatives, and it does not have to do with maybe the hard drivers that have to do with things that the employee is going to have to invest or maybe do on their own time. We're talking about skills development, and that's why we have it here. The other thing, Mafe, that I wanted you to maybe review it. So when we're talking about succession planning, so you showed the matrix. The audience were able to see that we have the 9 boxes in the calibration. So we showed performance, we showed the 9 box. Could you show the succession piece? Where can I see like the critical role and the positions? And
yes, I can come here to see more like a positions view. So what I'm going to do is I have all the positions of my company here, and I can see filter by the most like critical ones. So in my critical positions, I can see that I have successors that are assigned or not. And if I have successor in a position, I can see how the pipeline looks. So right now, the sales director is Susana, and the successors pipeline is Mark that is preparing for that, and Diana, Bruno, and each one of them has like how they are getting or reducing the gap to be ready for that position, and how long we expect them to be ready for that position. So,
I just want to I just want to highlight that when we're talking at the beginning of the webinar, for example, if you have Nala and we've already identified the critical roles, this is where you can just start focusing where you're going to start writing plans. You can very easily just identify, okay, where are the critical roles? Do they have successors? If you download the report, you're going to get not just that, you're going to get, okay, coverage, like the bench to mark. You're going to get in how much time are people going to be ready? So ideally, this is a place. Of course, we help set it up. And then this is where you maybe just get that first list of people that you're going to work on. And then, like Mafe was saying, because you're going to have information on those people in terms of who they are within the company, once you start writing those plans that are part of the succession plan, you have a place in NALA where you can put the deadlines and the owners and the description. And like Mafe was saying, work in progress, there's going to be like a helper, so that managers can do that with the abilities and the skills that are for the role you're preparing that person. That's the idea. The idea is that within the system, you can do that design piece. And then once that's done, within the same system, you can just manage. And every time, I'm not sure, Mafe, like she was showing like the succession part. So every time people are saying done on things that are part of those agreements, you're gonna see how visually that's gonna update so that you know who's ready. And again, if you need from 1 year to the other year, just download the report and compare. You're gonna be able to see which are the KPIs that were actually improved. Mafe, I'm gonna go back to the presentation unless you want to share something more. Okay, so I can share my screen now. Give me 1 second. So we very briefly showed you guys about the we talked about design and execution, and now as one of the participants was mentioning, we're gonna talk a little bit about talent risk and regrettable turnover. So the first invitation for me is from the people, talent, human capital role, just broadening the lens. I know we talk a lot about high potential and development plan and succession planning, but that's just one piece of the risk. Okay, so when we're talking about a company that's made by humans, there's different risks that come from people, and not every risk, but there's a group of risks that from HR at least we should have a plan in mind if that's a priority. So I just wanted to bring, as we close this webinar, the concept of regrettable attrition. So it means voluntary turnover, but specifically with people that we really don't want them to go. Maybe because they're hard to replace, maybe because they're hard performing, maybe they're critical for continuity or future growth. And what you're going to find in this slide, and again, we're going to share this with you guys, it's basically a list. So just to, again, like broaden the lens. So it's not just about the top 10 performer or the high potential. It's maybe people that are not high potential, but they have proprietary knowledge and becoming like a single point failure if they leave. It may be people that have relationship for maybe strategic customers or IP licensors or maybe regulator entities, whatever that may be. And again, this is just a list so that when you're thinking about managing risk from the HR function, it's just trying to understand, okay, besides top talent, where are those people that we really need to keep an eye on, and how can we proactively minimize the risk? And the only course of action is not just a development plan or a retention plan. There's other things. So if you have a group of people that are maybe in a critical role, but also with a high attrition risk, and not only that, the replacement time, it's insane. Maybe there's another way. It's not just focusing everything on retaining that person. You need to have a plan B. And this is where we're seeing companies being very creative in terms of engaging with maybe local schools or a community college or even universities, just making sure they are being active in terms of making the group of people available for those positions bigger. Some companies on specific roles, they decide to prioritize maybe protocol updates or systems so that if somebody leaves, it's not everything is in their head. There's a system, so it's very easy to train somebody as they go in. Or sometimes it even has to do with their processes around vendors, regulators, clients. It's making sure there's not just one person of contact. So I know we're always talking about talent and succession, and that's one piece of it. I just want to invite everyone to maybe open that scope a bit. And when you're having these conversations, if you're already having talent cycles and you're investing time in getting those feedback from managers, talk also about regrettable attrition. You're going to point out some people that are in critical roles or people that are very important for the team. Talk about these other categories with those managers and just try to understand where would the risk come, and if there's something on a personal level or on a company initiative that maybe you should prioritize for next year as you're actively minimizing that risk. The last part, I just wanted to very quickly show you two things that we're starting to develop in NALA, and very similar to the 9-box, because managers are already inputting a lot of data around their teams in NALA, and because one of the things they're updating is impact of loss, we're just trying to create a very simple 4-box matrix that's going to help us identify the critical people, the people that are going to put the company at risk for different reasons, not just because they're in a critical role. So what we're thinking here is just, it's important that you have a process in order to identify people that are critical. So if they leave, the impact, it's big on the company. So that again, as we think about these frequent processes, you're proactively focusing your attention on a group of people. You're deciding to prioritize resources in terms of succession planning, but also other initiatives with the same goal, minimizing talent risk for your company within the next year. And the other thing, and this is again, so for those of you who know NALA, NALA already keeps an eye on voluntary turnover, attrition risk, and ENPS on top talent, new hires, and company-wide, and you can apply any filter. We're thinking about adding this category because regrettable attrition has a huge impact on the company, and it's not just about top talent. It's not just about people that are in a critical position. It's also about these other categories that we mentioned. And since we're already taking the time to talk with our managers and uploading all this information, this is just one extra data point, and we could do all the math behind making sure you guys keep an eye. You can create the plans, and then you can track the progress of them. So as we finish, I just want to invite everyone to visit nalarocks.com. Happy to book a discovery call and figure out how we can help you level up your talent strategy. Today, we talk very specifically about succession planning and talent risk. Just a big reminder that NALA has different modules. We have a full performance management module. We have a talent and succession one. We have culture and leadership, and coming soon, a compensation management one. So if you would like to know more about one of these modules, or you would just like to schedule a call with us so that we can maybe give you some ideas or where to start, some pointers, please go to nalarocks.com and just schedule a demo, and we can take it from there. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, wait. And there we go. So do we have any questions, Cami or Mafe? Guys hear me?
Yeah, no, we don't have any questions or any comments, Xime, so far. We're fine.
Perfect. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be in touch, and looking forward to meeting some of you on a more one-on-one call, so it's not just me doing the talking, so that we can maybe learn more about your company or your current challenges, and at least help you get some starting points to keep your talent strategy from moving forward. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.